Hi, here we go again. I thought I'd let you have a little look at the old Brighton Project, see what I'm doing. I took the hand and the head on the tours around the country. But they wanted to attach, the head wanted to attach to a body, and the hand wanted to attach to an arm to the body. So, and that's what I've done. And of course finished the machine off. The bottom part of the machine, again, very perspective-y. Wanted finishing, which quite like the machine now. And the handle on the machine, I had it out of round for a while, didn't like that, couldn't make that look good, wasted 10 days on that before I went for more a boxy type finish, which visually works a lot better. I have trouble with this because I can't step back from it often enough or well enough. So I wanted to strip off my metal rack and sort of hang it on the wall, but I never got round to it. Carried on. Wish I hadn't. Went to step back. Could see a number of things that were wrong. One of which, the arm wasn't really wide enough. The hand perspective was good, but I had real trouble with the arm. I really did. It took me far longer than I thought it would. And the final adjustment had to be done with a sledgehammer and an hour of making a great deal of noise. So got the machine to a place where I liked it and enclosed it up. Oh, and by the way, there'll be a little bit of time lapse in a minute of me clearing my bench up. This is not even a full day's worth of mess. So I do this, more than once a day, have to clear my bench up. Otherwise you just can't work. You can't see the wheat for the chaff. It's just rubbish everywhere. And a lot of these bits are very sharp and will go right through your industrial boots, right into your foot if you're not careful. So I don't let other people wander around my workshop unless they've got special permission, or unless they're helping me, or I'm doing a little project for them. And sometimes there's even a dog about, and I won't let the dog in the workshop because he really will get injured. I popped back to Heaver because I've left the Dragon at Heaver, my centrepiece, because they said they'd put a light on it and I needed to put a better sign on it because no one knew who made this. So I made a sign with my name on it. And just thought I'd give you another view. Great backdrop having Heaver Castle, it really is. It's something else. And as far as I'm concerned, between shows, can live there permanently. What a fantastic place to have a dragon. Anyway, so I kept dragging this thing out. I've got a better view. I've got my drawings. I've got a clay model to work to. This is the furthest I've ever got with it. Needed to see it together, the man operating the machine, see if the perspective was kind of working. It was. Didn't like the width of his upper arm, and after these photographs turned the whole sculpture inside out and bashed it to death with a sledgehammer. And it's amazing how much work you can get done with a sledgehammer. And proper over my head stuff as well, I knew it would twist it up a little bit, but I've got time to untwist it. That's okay. Didn't think I'd have to get quite so brutal with it, but I did, and really got quite into it. Without actually injuring myself, I managed to save the day with my sledgehammer. There you are, the fine adjuster. I knew also that after I got the majority of this one done, that I'd have to step back to the factory. And this is some of the work of me working on the factory. I'm in the factory with all the chaps going off to work. After having a discussion with the customer and his wife on looking at this particular piece, we realised there were some anomalies that wanted adjustments that wanted to be made and stuff. So I ripped out the inner structure, which I put in there to stop it from twisting while I was working on it. So I ripped all that out. And did my fine adjusting with my fine adjusting hammers, which basically meant me bashing it about a fair bit, cutting the end man off and changing the angle of that man as well, pulling him up and out a little bit and turning him round a little bit so you could see a little bit more of his face, increasing the size of his head. The right hand's in his pocket, but the left hand was out and it was like a mitten, but it wasn't really working, so I needed to revisit that and do something with that as well, which I have done. So an awful lot of bashing about. I mean, I am bashing about 2mm material here, which allows you to give it a good bashing. You're not going to particularly hurt it. Wherever you bash it, it will dent, it will bend, especially when you've already got a bit of a shape to it. You know, I've got a sphere or something round or something curly. Wherever I'm hitting, that's where it's going to make its dent. It isn't going to spread out all over the place. Pretty much makes the dent where you hit. And you get finer, you know, start off with big heavy bashes, and then I'll get finer and finer, and then I might hammer and dolly it. So I'll have a block of material one side and I hammer the other, just to tidy it up a little bit. But initially I can all work from one side, and I can bash the living daylights out of this. As you appreciate, I have to put my earphones on for this. Excuse me. If there are some weird background noises, not all of them are me, by the way. The fridge has a fair few things to say. It's one of them self-defrosting fridges, and it's having a bit of a whine at the moment. You almost feel like it's talking to you, but yeah, don't know if you can hear that, but I wish it had shut up, but it won't. Right, so here I am. I'm doing a bit of adjustment, which is actually quite good fun. You know, it is a bit hard on the old shoulder if you're doing it all day, but yeah, I knew that at some point I'll have to come back and do some dressing and do some messing about with my hammers, but kind of look forward to it because it's quite good fun, if not a little noisy. And I have got 2mm to play with, and that's quite important. If this was a mil thick, you know, I'd have to be a great deal more careful, show a lot more finesse. I've worked in 2mm because I can weld and sculpt, and this type of work, it's going to be on a wall, even though it's going to be hot dipped, galvanized, and all this bit. You know, any thinner it would wear through pretty quick and just be a pile of rust on the wall. So hot dipping, galvanizing something this thick, it should outlive me and some. And of course, if it does end up wearing down, there's something to renovate. It can be caustic dipped in 20 years time and re-galvanized, and long as I'm dead and gone, it can survive for quite a long time. And of course, it's not terribly valuable in steelwork. If this was a piece of bronze, and knowing some of the individuals, they'd have it off the wall and they'd recycle it in no time, I'm sure. But it's only mild steel. It's not really worth a great deal in material wise, just the time in actually making it. And this particular piece is taking me a long time. I must be honest, far more time consuming. Working to somebody else's pattern, I don't have the same freedoms as I would if I was doing my own piece, to my own designs. This is probably the first time I've really worked to somebody else's pattern. Well, it's the first time ever in the sculpting world I've worked to somebody else's pattern, ever. I've always worked to my own, so that's obviously added. I underestimated how long, and it was a fixed price, this thing. Don't want to go into those sort of details too much, but it's not going to make me bankrupt, but I'm not going to make a lot of money on this at all. So here we are. I'm running grinders. I run at least 4 to 5 grinders, each one with a slightly different disc in it. At the moment, I've got a 1mm thick slitting disc. I'll use a 0.8 slitting disc as well. I'll use a flat disc sanding disc. I'll show you my tools in more detail. None of them will be site worthy. They all need a little bit of love and attention, and I, you know, bodge and tape them up a little bit where you couldn't get away with that on the site. And I'll have some flat discs as well. These are discs with abrasive, and they're like made up of lots of little flaps. I'll show you my tools. I shall make a point of walking you round. In fact, there's a flapper now. And that'll be a 40 grit. I'll probably have one with an 80 grit in it as well. If it was, you know, working my way to being a polished item, I will have a 120. I'll then work a sanding disc with a 240 and just work my way through the grades until you can go right up to mirror polished 2000 wet and dry, you know. But we don't need to do that. This is going to be hot dip galvanized. A 40 would be well good enough. In fact, give the galvanized a bit of key to it as well. Excuse me. But I'm having to do a bit of reshaping. I've had to cut this particular figure off the sculpture. There was a number of heads in the background as well. Looked great when it was a clay model. Didn't look too bad when it's a drawn thing. When it got to this size, they just weren't working. They just, weren't working. So what we thought, we'd get rid of the little ones and pull this individual sort of up, out and at a bit of an angle, so you get a little bit more view of his face. Which means I've got to do a little bit more arm and a bit of strange. There's a couple of things here from a design point of view I'd have done totally different. Doesn't mean they look bad, it's just I'd have done them different and probably put more detail in, which weirdly enough would have been a bit quicker. But there you are. The other thing was the hand of this particular individual. He had like a little mitten on. As much as I was trying to do a quick cheat there and thinking, yeah, I'll get away with that, it looked dreadful. So I thought I'll get rid of the mitten and give this chap some fingers. Even though it's a bit cartoony, you know, maybe not completely anatomically correct, it's not bad. You know, it's still a bit of a hand going on there, without being too madly detailed. By the time that's dipped, galvanised and painted, he'll look great. So yeah, I thought I needed to do a bit of hand reshaping, which is what I'm doing on there now. So I'm not far away, I keep saying this, another 3 weeks to go round, from actually finishing this one. And in this particular case, I probably won't show you any more of the factory and the machinist until the very end. The next film of the Brighton Project I shall do will be of the next sculpture. And the next sculpture is a newspaper. There was a newspaper industry. So it's a number of newspapers that look like they're sort of sat on each other's. And that's going to be my next one. And that'll be my next film as far as the Brighton Project is concerned. Doesn't mean I won't make a film of other things that's been going on in my life, or things that have gone on in the past, or some of the film footage I've got of shows, or some of my topical tips. I've been keeping little topical tip films as well, just to do a film of that. So I might chuck a film together. But yeah, this will be the last one of the machinist and the factory that you may see for a little while, until the very... until I fabricated them all and perhaps had the customer out to look at them all before I start working out how to pin them to the wall. That'll be a bit of fun, won't it? Anyway, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. That's not too much of an effort, is it? Just going, and it makes a huge difference to me. And yeah, do that dingly bell thing. All right. So look, I've got to say it again because Corona hasn't left us yet. Stay safe. Get vaccinated. And behave yourselves, all right? Have a good time now. Bye. Oh, thanks for listening. Bye. Bye.